Baba, thank you. Every day when I wake up, I will say, Baba, thank you. Every time when I woke up, I will say, Baba, thank you. You never said when I got to do for me. My God show me mercy, and He shower His blessings. You never mistake when I got to do for me. My God show me mercy, and He shower His blessings. Mama, thank you. Every other day got the Christmas. Baba there, even the night you grab a billion. I got my best quarter. Every other day got the Christmas. He never said when I got to do one for me. My God show me mercy, and He shower His blessings. He never said when I got to do one for me. My God show me mercy, and He shower
All right. Good afternoon to everyone in the Eastern Standard Time, and good evening to everyone in Nigeria, in the UK, and in South Africa. What a joy to be with you live today on Instagram, to be able to bring to you this special masterclass. I am so excited. I want to appreciate every one of you that have already joined in, and I do believe you are letting your friends and your family and colleagues know that the program has started and they need to quickly join in order to participate in today's masterclass. What a joy and a privilege. Thank you for tuning in. I do assure you under God that you certainly are going to be blessed. Let me start by wishing every single mother, I know it's tomorrow, the 10th, a very special happy Mother's Day. You know, I am one of those who believe that the best of God's creation are mothers. I say that with all sense of seriousness and purpose. Like somebody said, after God created man, He looked at everything and said, I can do better. So He created a woman, and the woman became the mother. Congratulations, mothers. You are so deserving of every celebration, that is showered upon you for your sacrifice, your love, for the things you do for your family, your husbands, your children. A mother is actually one who literally gives her life, her shape, her sacrifices everything just to be able to support a husband and raise up children and sacrifice many things in order to be able to bring their children into what they need to be. Congratulations and happy Mother's Day one more time. Today the masterclass is on effective single parenting. Effective single parenting. And I want you to know that it's a privilege for me to be able to bring this your way. It's something I've studied over the years. I've been a pastor for several years. I've been doing this for several years. I've pastored for over 30 years actually. And I've been leading singles meeting, marriage conferences, and talking to people. So out of my pain and passion, out of my quest to know, out of inspiration, out of study, out of prayer, and all that I am going to be sharing with you have emanated from. So I need you to know that this comes from a heart that really cares. Like you can imagine, the 45 minutes to about 1 hour plus or minus that we're going to spend here will certainly not be enough to give you all the details I really want to. In times like this, you want to ask a question. Are you going to, you want to find out, do you go deep or you go wide? I would have preferred to go deep, but the problem with that is that I wouldn't have enough time to give you as many details. So I've chosen to go wide so as to cover many of the issues that ideally you need to know about concerning single parenting and how to be effective in it. And after this, if there are questions, there are concerns, and there are issues you want to take up with me personally, you have my Instagram addressed already. All you need to do is just immediately send me a question, send me your concerns. I'll be glad to engage with you one-on-one or as a group. That's why I am bringing this to you in the first place. Let me also alert you that in the course of this, I have two single parents, one from the United Kingdom and another one from London, UK, and another one from Lagos, Nigeria, who are going to be coming in to tell us very briefly how their experiences have been in order to give it the feel of somebody who is actually a single parent and is experiencing a number of the issues we're going to be addressing. All right, on that note, let's begin. The first thing I'd like you to see is that single parenting is a real issue today, and therefore it can no longer be ignored. You just cannot ignore it. In the United States alone, we are told by the Pew Research that 32% of children live with a single parent. 32. That is 1 in every 3 of a child in the entire United States. The United States has over 330 million. So what does that tell you? About 110 million children in the United States live in a single parent home. How dare we ignore such a statistics? We just can't do that. According to the Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, OECD, in a statement they released in 2014, globally, 17% of all children between the ages of 0 and 14 live with a single parent, globally. Now, if you extend that age to 18, then the number moves higher to close to almost 30%, 25, 30%. That's humongous. That's not a number. So again, almost 1/3 of the global children population between 1 and 18 live in a single parent home. Again, I ask, how dare we ignore such a huge number amongst our people? But there's another interesting statistics in all of this. It was also found by the OECD study, which was done in 2014, that of all the single parents, 88% of them are headed by women. That is to say, when you talk about single parent household, 88% of that number are women. So which means in a very dominant way, when we talk about single parentage, most of the time women are the people who actually find themselves operating as single parents. What about in Africa? I checked out a study that was done by Clark and Hamplover. Clark and Hamplover are both professors in different schools. And in 2011, can you imagine? 2011, just imagine what the statistics will be today. In Africa, they came up with a study that the likelihood of being a single mother, by the age of 45 for most women in Africa is huge. Here are the data. It will be 30% in Ethiopia, 51.7% in Tanzania, 59.5% in Kenya, 61% in Malawi, and 68.8%, almost 70% in Zimbabwe. That is to say, every woman between the ages of childbearing to when they are 45 are likely going to become single parents, going by the data that is studied in these countries. That, traditionally, one would have thought that is not the case in African societies. But the experience and the data puts a light to that assumption. And one of the things I can tell you is that assumptions are always the lowest form of knowledge. Any organization, community, church that has a humongous number and is not addressing the concerns of single parents is not doing well. Because that's a huge population. And oftentimes there is this mistake of almost demonizing, of almost creating an impression, knowingly or unknowingly, that single parents are people who have become single parents simply because they desire to. Yes, there is a few, percentage I'll get to inform you as we proceed, who are single parents by choice. But majority of them are not single parents by choice. And like I've said, single parentage is not a cause. And therefore, we cannot ignore this huge population who are taking care of almost 1/3 of the global population of children. We've got to find a way. In most organizations, we talk about married men, we talk about married women, we talk about singles. And we forget this gap of people who are single mothers who are not exactly, in all of these 3 main categorizations. And so I think one of the call I'm going to be making out by reason of this teaching is to challenge every organization that the moment you have at least two single mothers or single parents, it's time to begin to ensure that you focus on the well-being of this population. It's very important. We have no reason to ignore any population. The Bible, speaking of Jesus, says we do not have an high priest who cannot but be touched by the feelings of our infirmities. All right? Now, let me introduce it this way. Unlike in the previous centuries, like the 17th and 18th century, when death of one of the spouse, especially mostly the men, was the basis of the basis for single parentage, it has changed so significantly in the 20th century. In the 20th century, the basis for single parentage has significantly shifted. Take a listen to this. In the United States, for instance, 49% of all single parents are people who were never married. They just happen to have had children for whatsoever reason or howsoever along the line. 49%. That is almost half of them have never been married. And yet they have children they have to fend for. 30% represent those. This is the United States of those who are divorced. This is still a statistic that was brought by the OECD, Organization of Economic Cooperation and Development, in 2014. All right? Now, 30% are divorced, 17% are separated, and only 3.5% are widowed. I want to imagine that there might be a slight tweaking of this when it comes to the African continent, because to a degree, a fairly significant number of single mothers or single parents are people who have lost a spouse. But howsoever, it's not too far from this. So what I want you to see here is that almost half of the number of people who are single parents are people who became single parents, not because they were divorced or separated or because their spouses passed on, but by choice, by reason of becoming pregnant and having a child along the line. Now, this session is not to ask how that happened, but to address a fact that we have children that require attention and therefore need to be better taken care of, and that is why we are coming with these teachings. Now let me define the concept of single parentage. It's a very simple one. A single parent situation is a situation where either a father or a mother is left alone to raise up a child or children all by themselves, or it could be a partial or complete single parenting. That is to say, sometimes, like I said in my introductory advert, sometimes there are people who are married, and by reason of some of the factors I'm going to enumerate for you shortly, their other spouses are not there to actually provide a help. So even though they are in a marriage situation, they are actually operating like single parents. And you'll be alarmed and amazed to know how many people struggle like that, especially mothers who have living husbands, who are married supposedly, but they are still operating like as if they are single parents. Now, how to deal with that and some of the other factors is what is the focus of this particular teachings as you proceed with me. Let's look at the causes of single parentage. There are a number of them, and I just want to highlight them very quickly as we proceed. The first I'd like to talk about is widowhood. Like you will agree with me, there is no single person who ever plans to be a widow or a widower. Absolutely nobody. It just happens that by reason of the circumstances of life, people lose their spouses, sometimes at very tender ages. We've seen widows who are widows, just a few months into their marriage, and they're already pregnant, and they're going to give birth to a child. Some several years. It doesn't make it less painful, actually. It doesn't change the reality that a spouse is dead, and there are children to be taken care of. That's one basis. The second one, which is very common, is separation or divorce, whereby people come to a point, and for whatsoever reasons, They say they don't just want to continue in the relationship. They are tired, either because there is another party who has come in and has caused the heart of one of the spouses to drift, or by reason of pressures, or by reason of all kinds of influences, they just decide to opt out. Some formalize it by going for a legal divorce. Others just simply take, they just desert, the marriage. Now, the third basis is abandonment, whereby there is no official separation, there is no official divorce, but there is a clear case of abandonment, where a spouse, oftentimes the men, just go in and come out, go out and come in howsoever they like, whensoever they like, leaving their wives or the mothers to fend to themselves or for themselves, all by themselves. Now, there are many cases of abandonment. As much as you would wish that is not the case, the reality shows to us that many people find themselves being abandoned in their relationship. And there are just some spouses who can stand that, who feel that the marriage relationship requires the commitment of both spouses. And so if for any reason the person is not going to be there, they choose to even proceed to ask for a legal separation or a divorce. The fourth basis upon which we find single parentage or parenting is when there is a disputed paternity case. When sometimes the man, more often of course than not, claims that he is not responsible for the child in question. And all that needed to be done in disputed cases of paternity is to take a simple DNA test, which is available everywhere. I remember dealing with a case like that not too long ago, and a young man who's had a child by a lady that they were yet to get married to, and had abandoned the care of the child and left the woman to herself. And the kind of person I am, I just can't stand those kind of injustices. So I called the young man and I said, "What's going on? How would you look at this handsome young man? That is your son. Why would you abandon this child?" And he said to me, I'm going to tell you a long story, cut it short. He said to me, he doubts if he is responsible for that child. And I said, "You are educated, right?" He said, "Yes." "You can afford a DNA test?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Even if you can't afford it, can I pay for you to go take it? You determine where to take place. You take the samples, you supervise everything so that you don't claim there is hanky-panky, and whatever you need to do, do. But what I can tell you for sure is that you are not doing right. It's so unfair to both the mother of the child and much more to the child for you to abandon this child on the simple pretext that you doubt the paternity." But alas, the young man never heeded my advice. He has not done what I advised him to do, and the young lady is left to herself to take care of this beautiful bouncing baby boy. So disputed paternity is a basis that finds people having to operate as single parents. A fifth one is just an unconcerned spouse. They are living together in the same house, supposedly married, staying together, but when it comes to the care of the children, when it comes to giving what is expected or demanded, the man is not just involved. There are very few cases where it's the woman that is not involved. Yeah, there are cases like that. At least I know of one, of a case where the woman is just one of those derelict, one of those people who are so given to all kinds of addictions and distractions that she is unwilling and sometimes even incapable of providing the kind of support, to be able to become an effective parent. But more often than not, it's the men that are unconcerned, in the pretext of being very busy making the money, in the pretext of being very committed. Now, the truth of the matter is that there is no basis under the sun, I don't care what you think it is, for any spouse to excuse himself or herself from the God-given, socially demanded responsibility of parental responsibility. It is inexcusable. It is inexcusable. There are no grounds. However, it does happen. Another one, a sixth reason is absentee spouses. Spouses who by reason of just negligence, just by reason of just wanting to be out all the time, in what somebody calls a non-resident father. They're just absent. They claim they are in, They claim they are not separated, they are not divorced, they claim they have not absconded, they claim that they have not abandoned, but they are always out. More excited about other engagements, and always seeing the care and nurture of children as a pain, as something they don't want to deal with. There are people just like that. And of course, there is also the extended foreign engagements. For people who are in the military, for people who carry some kind of jobs where they have to be away for a very long time. And it doesn't just happen once, it happens in a cycle. They find themselves in extended foreign engagement 6 months, 3 months. And that happens almost every year in the growing up stages of the children. That's also a case that unfortunately presents, single parenting, where one of the party is not left to himself or herself most of the time to fend for the children. Then of course, the final one is the deliberate choice. The last one I like to talk about is the deliberate choice. What do I mean by that? There are women in our day who just say, listen, I don't want to be married. I can't stand the challenges of marriage. Now, as much as I do not believe in that, that's not the focus of my teaching right now. The focus of my teaching right now is that you have children that have come by reason of your liaison or relationship with a man somewhere, or even if it be by surrogacy. Howsoever a child has come in, you have a child, so you are now a single parent. So whether you want to live in a marriage or not, there are responsibilities that now devolve on you by reason of having a child. And the earlier you understand the wisdom, the how to overcome the challenges and to deal with the situation, the better it is for you. All right? Let me talk very quickly about the ideal situation, and I'm going to be requesting our first caller from the United Kingdom, somebody you would love to know and meet, to come in and tell us a little bit about her situation. But let me quickly say this. What is the ideal situation before I get into the main juice, the main focus of this teaching, which is what are the challenges of single parentage and how do you overcome them? Those are the main focus, and I have quite a number of points I'm going to very quickly glide through. So I'm going to be requesting Apostle Ezine Ejoma, who is a woman of God that runs the ministry Streams of Joy International in the United Kingdom. She is also someone who is a single parent. She has 2 lovely children. I met her in a conference in Rwanda, and I followed her pages and what she does online, and I've been very impressed at her ministry. She's going to be joining us. Another person that's going to be joining us to speak very briefly online shortly. Once they come in, I'm going to accept them. I'm waiting on her to come in to request to join my live video. Is also in the person of Kate Phillips. Kate Phillips is someone who is going to be calling in from Lagos, and she's going to be also sharing her experience as a single mother. All right, both of them are single parents on different reasons, okay, and I would like to hear from them. So one more time, I'm waiting on Apostle Ezine to please request to join my live video. So while we're waiting for her, let me continue. Now, the ideal situation is for both parties, the husband and the wife, to raise up children. There is no way you could ever imagine a situation that can be better than that or should be better than that. All right, that is why in Genesis chapter 2 and verse 18, God himself said, it is not good for the man, and permit me to add, the woman to be alone. It is not good. That's to say it's not ideal. It's not what he designed it to be. And the reason why the challenges I'm going to be enumerating for you soon are there. And secondly, Ecclesiastes chapter 4, beginning from verse 19 to verse 12, emphasizes very strongly the fact that 2 are better than 1. 2 are better than 1. And if you read all the way to verse 12, it begins to, that scripture begins to enumerate the advantages of both the husband and the wife this time around in a marriage situation. 2 are better than 1. The Bible says they have a better result. They have a better outcome. They can prop up one another. They can challenge one another. They can sharpen one another. They can preclude one from falling when one becomes weak. And all of those challenges, that you find yourself going through simply by just being one who is operating all by yourself. All right? So it's important that we know that that's the ideal situation. And before I get into the challenges and also take our guest, I'm hoping we come in shortly. Let me quickly say this. Whether you are a widow as a single mother and you still consider yourself willing to get married, or you are a single parent by reason of divorce and you believe your spouse can reconnect with you, which is possible, we've seen many of that, or the spouse is gone for good and you are believing for a new spouse, or you are one of those who decided by choice not to be married, I need you to please know that getting married is a good way to go. It's a good way to go. I really would advise that. I know sometimes the reason a number of you are possibly saying no to marriage is the pain of the past. But I love the way a man of God puts it. He said, you never allow the pain of the past, to paralyze your progress or even punish your present. Don't allow that. The pain of your past. Don't allow it punish your present or paralyze your progress. There are always a better outcome out of the ashes of the past. And so you don't want to resign and give up simply because you feel that the experience you had in marriage was not good. However, having said that, I need you to understand that if you can do so, please ensure that you are able to and believe for a relationship. There's always a way outside of the challenges you have gone through before. Don't abandon your situation. All right? I think we're having a little technical issue with Apostle. Apostle, can you request one more time? Just request afresh, and I'm going to see you come up, on the screen for me to be able to ask you to be a part of this. All right? Now, let me continue while I receive her. Otherwise, we'll receive Kate Phillips first, and then she can come in thereafter. Now, what are the challenges of single parentage? What are the challenges? I really need you to follow this, because knowing the challenges and better still how to avoid them or the need to avoid them positions you in a better place to be able to overcome all of the situations that are plaguing most single parents. The first one in the long list is the unhealed pains of separation. The unhealed pains of separation. My wife is a professional psychologist, a counselor, I beg your pardon. She said to me that the reason why different people respond in different way is what they call professionally the coping ability. Each person's emotional makeup puts them in a place where their ability to cope with a reality differ from person to person. So why some are so strong emotionally and they moved on, not every one of them are like that. The pains of separation, which can be very deep and life transforming, could be such that sometimes people don't even know exactly what to do or how to deal with it. So when people are hurt, like it is said, people who are hurt have a tendency to hurt others. They don't even know sometimes that their actions and inactions is hurting other people. And when those pains have not been healed, he has a way of ensuring that they are not able to be proper single parents. All right? So on that basis, you discover that they have to find a way to get healed of the matters, of the pain that came by reason of the separation, the divorce, the abandonment, the ill treatment, the maltreatment, or the mistreatment that they experience. You've got to be healed. You've got to be healed. And sometimes you are not in a position to tell if you are healed. Sometimes people assume it's all well until somebody who has the ability to evaluate how they act and how they respond to situations can tell, that they are not yet healed. So you need to make sure that you have been healed. Ask the question. Talk to a counselor. Talk to a pastor who knows. Talk to a friend and let them find out if you have been healed, from the emotional challenge that you found yourself in. All right. Now, the next thing is transferred aggression. There are so many of them. The next one is transferred aggression. Do you know that sometimes we find ourselves unwittingly, unknowingly transferring the hurt we have on the people who are closest to us, on the people that are most vulnerable to us. Sometimes, if they were married, it would be to their spouse, but this time around, we're talking about people who are operating alone. Or even if it's their spouse that have abandoned them, they transfer the aggression to their spouse. They make their homestead very uncomfortable. The children always get the short end of the stick. They are so irritable, very easily offended. They go off easily, and they don't understand why. The truth of the matter is that it is the outflow of the unhealed pains of separation. And usually people find a way of dealing with emotional buildup by finding means of expression, means of being able to throw it out, means of being able to express it. So one of the ways they do it is that they ventilate their passion, their anger on the people who are most vulnerable. And guess what? Children are oftentimes on the receiving end. I know of a young lady who was reported to me, and we had to take her up. She's a single mother, where she would take her shoe, her belt, and smack her 3-year-old child so badly, and all of that. And when she was interviewed, she acknowledged the fact that the real challenge is that she has just discovered, that her pain is what she's trying to give expression to by taking it out upon the innocent child. Unfortunately so. So when you find yourself having those kind of hurt and unhealed pain, be careful how you do that. You must find other ways, first to be healed, and before you are being healed, to ventilate your anger so that you don't transfer your aggression on the innocent children who did not constitute or did not contribute to the reason why you are operating as a single parent. You've got to be very careful about that. All right. The next one, number 3, has to do with responding to rebellious children. That's one major challenge that single parents have. Now, this will take a long time to deal with, but let me put it this way. Oftentimes, the rebellion of the children have a root, have a foundation. There are certain causative factors that produces rebellion in children. Number 1, it could be the way of the child responding to the absence of his or her dad or mom, depending on the party who is absent. Number 2, it may be as a result of how the child was brought up. The child was brought up in an inappropriate manner, whereby the child just believes that he or she has the ability to be able to to be able to just have to just have his way anytime he or she likes. And that is not right. The reality of the matter is that rebellion doesn't just happen. A number of factors cause it. Hello. All right. Yes. I'm going to pause just where I am. I'm so excited. I'm sharing my screen now with this blessed woman of God. Apostle Ezine, thank you for coming on live on this special broadcast. It's good to have you. How are you doing with the family?
We're doing great. Thank you for the honor. I really appreciate.
A pleasure. Sorry for all the technical issues. I thank God for my daughter, who is one of my sisters here, that helped to resolve the issue. Now, I guess you've been following what I've been sharing, and one of the reasons why I asked you to come on live is because of what I've observed about you as one who is very focused, very diligent, very dutiful, and you are also a servant of the Most High God. I've seen what you're doing. Apostle Ezine is a psychiatric nurse. She runs the ministry Streams of Joy International in the United Kingdom. An interesting lady you really need to know about and follow. but she has two beautiful children, a boy and a girl. And I've watched those,
Three
kids.
children.
Oh, three children, I beg your pardon.
Yes.
I beg your pardon. That makes you even better qualified to contribute. Now, Apostle Ezinne, in just a few minutes, tell us, what's been your experience? And there's so much about being a single mother. What are the challenges? Do you want to speak on the challenges of how single mothers, should handle their affairs or whatever? Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Praise God. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm a mother of three. My son is 19 going to 20. My daughter is 16 going to 17. And I have a 7-year-old.
Oh, wow.
I thank God for this opportunity because many times as a single mom or somebody in ministry or in leadership, one of the major things you need to deal with is the aspect of shame. Because one of the things the enemy will send your way is shame. The Bible says seeking that knew no sin to become sin for us. So when you understand what Jesus did on the cross, he took your shame to give you honor. So it doesn't matter what led to you being a single parent. One of the challenges I see people who are single parents experience is their inability to go past the shame. And in the place of not being able to go past the shame, they become vindictive, they become angry, they become bitter, they become upset. Like, I grew up in a family, I grew up in deeper life. There's no history of separation, divorce from my family. So it's a rude shock for one to get married and begin to see you having to raise your children all by yourself. But there is one thing every single mother must know, whatever that causes you to become a single mother is God has already prepared you before time.
That's right.
Hallelujah. God has already equipped you before time. So you have within you what it takes to raise up those children in the fear of the Lord. The scripture backing you have says that your kids shall be taught from above, and great shall be their peace.
Their peace.
Hallelujah.
Glory.
So when you come under that scripture, the first thing you have to deal with is bringing closure to why you're a single parent. Someone is saying bad network. I don't know if you can see me. Man of God, can you see me?
I can see you. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yes.
I hear you.
One of the things you have to realize is you need to bring closure to yourself and to the children why you are a single parent. So your children need to know when they come to the age of why is mom or dad raising us up alone. You need to be as transparent and as truthful as possible so that those children can grow up knowing that the pitfalls either yourself or your significant other went through. When they are faced with such challenges, they are able to make a difference.
Okay.
That is number one. Number two, we must also understand that some significant other, some women can be bad wives but good mothers. Some men can be bad husbands but good fathers. And somebody raising up a child, you must be able to allow the child have the significant other by the prerogative of God. God's desire for a family is husband, wife, man, woman to raise a child. But if you find yourself in the condition whereby maybe you're married or single, the man is not playing his role, you have a responsibility to allow the man as much as life within him to play a role in a child's life. It may mean just a phone call while you are putting all the bills. It may mean seeing the child once a month while you are taking care of the child every day. You have that responsibility because you have made up your mind that this is your child. Your child needs that. It's no longer about you. It's no longer about your feelings, because sometimes as a woman or as a man, it hurts to know that the man marries you just for having children. He's not interested in you, but he's interested in the child. You must be able to differentiate and allow that child have good practice play a role.
Absolutely.
Whereby that is not in place, maybe he doesn't want to get involved, he doesn't want to be there, or maybe you are trying that and the significant other is not there. Never allow yourself to throw out that bitterness on the child. I'm a psychiatric nurse and I work in mental health units. I see a lot of young boys, young girls coming to the system. Many
Yes.
of them is always emotional problem. You
Yes,
don't want
right.
your child going down that road.
Going through that
There
lane.
is a place for a man in the life of a child, and there is a
Wow.
place for a woman in the life of a child. You
You
cannot
know,
be both.
Apostle Izine, you know, I'm just realizing I will need to have a whole session where we need to make it a question and answer session. Because I
Amen.
wanted to ask, did you see what I'm going to be teaching further? You seem to be telling all my message in advance. But it tells that, number one, you know the word of God. Number two,
Yeah.
you have opened up your spirit to do the right thing. Number
Yeah.
three, you have a practical hands-on experience of what work. And of course, number four, your training as a psychiatric nurse puts you in a position to understand psychological issues, and so you are able to offer. Apostle Ezina,
Yeah.
you have said some very profound things, dealing with the
Yeah.
issue of shame, understanding there's no challenge is taking you that God has not prepared you for, recognizing that there is a separation between how the man has treated you and the need for that man or woman in the life of their children. So many profound things you have said. Now, Apostle
Yeah.
Ezina, I'm going to thank you for your time right now. I'm
Thank
trying
you.
to see how I can quickly wrap this up in less than an hour, so that I don't
That's
make
good.
all this too long. But you have said some very profound things. I want to thank you for your time, and do
Thank
believe
you
that
so
when
much.
we do call on you next to come and share
Yeah.
your experience and wisdom, you'll be available for us.
No problem, sir. No problem. I'm very grateful. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. All right, everyone. Apostle Izine has come in a couple of minutes. I'm going to be welcoming in Kate Phillips from Lagos, Nigeria, another single mother who's going to spend a little time to just share on her practical experience, just to give this the real feel that it deserves to have. So I was speaking about the challenges of single parentage, and the third one I was talking about is rebellious children. It's important to understand that the rebellion in a child has a reason. Children are not designed to be rebellious. There are factors that make them rebellious. And so in dealing with that rebellion, the first thing is to identify what caused the rebellion. Is it improper upbringing? Is it reaction or response to the challenge of missing a parent? And so if you don't deal with that, you might occasion more harm than good in trying to straighten out that child in the place of rebellion. All right? Then the fourth one has to do with what I call emotional tantrums. Emotional tantrums. One major challenge that emanates, in very oftentimes single parent situations are emotional issues. And these emotional issues have to do a lot with how a child responds to the challenges of being taken care of by one parent and missing the other parent. Or better still, how the one parent in his or her life is failing to provide some of the things that can fill in the void that was made, that was occasioned by the absence of the other spouse. You see, emotional tantrums are ways children oftentimes respond to situations. It's a way of letting you know that they are missing something, they are seeking attention, they are reacting to a situation, and all of that. So you see them acting up, you see them withdrawn, you see them speaking out, you see them becoming very irritable, very irascible, all kinds of tendencies, and you are wondering, where is all this coming from? So you need to understand that, so that you know how to deal with it, deal with the cause. Always deal with a principle in the scriptures is that the axe is laid to the root. The axe is laid to the root. You've got to know the root cause before the tree can be cut off. Another challenge, all right, any moment now, I would love Kate Phillips to please come in. She's trying to come in now. All right. All right. Let's welcome Kate Phillips any moment. But while she's getting ready to come in, the fifth challenge I wanted to share with you is the physical challenges that some people have. Some people have physical challenges. All right, Kate Phillips is on. Can you adjust your camera to be on your face so that we can see the face? Okay, I think she's out. When she comes back again, we'll accept her. All right. Now, let me quickly say this. Physically challenged children. Sometimes one of the most depressing situations you can find a single parent having to deal with is when one or two or more of the children are challenged. And there are all kinds of situations that challenge these children. It could be many of the mental issues, it could be many of the physical issues. Anyhow it comes, you can imagine the pain a single mother is going through who has to deal with children that are challenged. Just imagine it. Even with both parents, is a handful. Even with both parents, they need all the help they can muster. Now to now talk of a situation where they are all by themselves having to take care of physically challenged children. Another one, meeting up with demands. There are certain demands that every child deserves to have. You know, it could be financial. It could be some kind of counseling. It could be some kinds of involvement in the life of the child and all of that. Now, here's how to deal with that very quickly before we get too enamored with the time and not address how you can deal with it. How do you deal with the demands your child puts up? The first thing you want to do is to make sure you don't live a lie. You don't create an impression of having the capacity to provide every single thing that the child wants. You don't want to do that. You see, children are some of the most loving, some of the most adaptable set of people you can ever find. They are so loving and adaptable. All you need to then do for them is express your love, express your affection, your care to them verbally, but at the same time, let them know your ability to either provide or not to provide what they should get at a particular time, promising them that in the fullness of time, all right, they will be able to join. All right, I see Kate Phillips trying to come in. I've accepted you. I think your network is a little bit weak. So you want to see your network, but we'll try and see if it can come up one more time. Let me continue while we see how we can possibly connect you. So you've got to understand that you don't create an impression you can meet all the demands. No, it's a wrong way to fill in the void of the absence of a spouse. Don't try and satiate every single desire. You are doing the wrong thing. You are training the child wrongly because it's not a standard you can ever meet. Because like you know, there is no end to human needs, or human wants. It's important for you to recognize that what to do is never to create an impression that you can accept it all. You can't. You can meet all the demands. So structure your children to understand ability or not. All right. We have Kate Phillips with us live from Lagos, Nigeria. Welcome to the program, Kate. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, sir. How about you?
I'm doing very well. How are the children? I know you have two children,
right? The children are fine. I have two, yes.
Excellent. Now, you possibly have been following all the discussions. You're most welcome. All the discussions. And yes, sir. A single mother, by reason of widowhood, there are challenges or there are experiences. I want to just give you the free platform to share just what you may in just a couple of minutes. Please go ahead.
All right, thank you, sir.
Welcome.
I lost my husband December 2015.
Okay.
And I can't tell you it's been easy for me and the children, I thank God my son was 1 year and 6 months when he left, and my daughter was 3 years old, and they were also in the same school where I was teaching as of then. Okay. And when this whole thing happened, people started asking me, what are you going to do? Are you going to train the children alone in still that same school? And I said, with God on my side, I'm sure he will be able to help me. Now I have worked in that organization for 9 years now, and this is 4 years plus that my husband has left. My children, they are doing well. I am okay. Is it challenging? Yes, it is challenging. But at the same time, I have refused to give up.
Excellent.
I said to myself, I will make it. I will continue to keep my faith. Excellent. So when I listen to you preach, when I come to church every Sunday and all that, I am equipped within my spirit to carry on the next day or the next week. My children are still in that same school with me and all that. I know how it is. and there are other things I am doing. I don't want to live in self-pity. I don't want people to continue to tell me all the time, oh, how are you doing it? It is well and all that. Yes, it is challenging. Sometimes I break down and cry, but I have refused to give up.
Excellent.
So I really want to encourage every other woman out there.
All right.
Maybe you are a single parent, you have lost your husband, or through separation, do not give up. Don't live in self-pity. It is the way you put yourself that people will address you.
That's right.
It is the way you put yourself that people will respect you or want to have anything to do with you tomorrow.
That's right.
Outside my teaching, I still have business that I do.
Excellent.
Sometimes it is challenging because I have to put food on the table.
That's right.
If I'm not doubling for the father and the mother, then I have to be strong for myself and for my children.
Excellent.
And I thank God that it's been amazing. It is awesome.
Wow.
If I don't tell you, you won't know that I have lost my husband.
Wow.
If I don't tell you, when you see my children, you wouldn't know they don't have a father.
Excellent.
God has been there for us.
Excellent.
God has been protecting us. God has been providing for us. Wherever you are listening to me right now, I want you to keep your faith. I want you to be there. Remember that joy comes in the morning.
That's right.
Yes, it's Mother's Day tomorrow. Maybe you are expecting a gift, it might not come. I do break down and cry sometimes, but we have to keep moving.
That's
There
right.
is a lot ahead in front of us, and I know that Almighty God will continue to help us.
Wow.
Yes, there has been lockdown. In this lockdown, what happened to me? I received things from people. I also gave out.
That's right.
I also gave out.
Wow.
And that is it. And Father in heaven is seeing it.
Amen.
Sometimes I just see money in my account. That is why, because I am not just at the receiving end.
That's right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I almost called you Apostle Lazy. Now, Kate, do me a favor. Can you please speak? Profound. I'm just so excited at both of you that came in today. But in just a few seconds, what has been the response from people you sometimes thought or even promised they would be there for you, whether from any angle, friends, family? What's been your kind of experience with such people, like in just a few seconds?
From people,
yes,
is it from my...
You are, yes. Okay. People you are thought will be able to help you,
Yeah.
Have you gotten a lot of support from people like you expected?
Yes. Yes, like when I lost my husband, even on the graveside, I saw a lot of people saying to me, I am going to train your children up until university level. I have seen people tell me I am going to be paying your house rent. I did not see anything like that.
All right.
And I wasn't relying on them.
All right.
My hope and my trust was just in God. And He has been the one for me.
Thank you, Kate. I can't thank you enough for being a strong mother. I want you to know, together with Apostle Isn't, there are many of us who are so proud of people like you. And
thank you, sir.
We need you to know that we are rooting for you, we are praying for you. It's for people like you need to be able to have a voice to talk to many others who don't have the kind of strength and understanding that you have. I wish you success in your parenting and in all your future endeavors. God bless you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here, sir. Thank you.
You take care. Bye-bye.
Bless you, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye. All right, everyone. That was Kate Phillips from Lagos. You heard her directly, letting us see how it is exactly. I just wanted that dimension of she saying that the promises. All right, I've just been told by my media people that what we're projecting on the screen is flipped the other way. Well, bear with me. Let me proceed. All right, meeting up with demands is a sixth challenge I spoke about that has to do with what people go through as single parents. And I've already told you, be honest, be forthright, and let you know, let your children, you see, your words of assurance are more precious. Your presence, your touch of love and affection are sometimes more precious than the physical things you want to provide for that child. The seventh challenge that comes up in single parenting situation is custodial and visitation issues. Custodial and visitation issues. You heard Apostle Laziness speak about that. And she was so correct, so spot on. You have to, she said it this way, that there are sometimes good wives, bad mothers, and the reverse. Just like there are bad husbands and good fathers. You've got to understand that. Now, the point she was trying to make is, Sometimes the pain of separation makes some people want to stop their spouses or their exes or the parents of their children or the father or mother of their children from having access to them. Now, I do agree there are some situations where that access needs to be restricted or better say controlled. But to altogether say no on the pretext of pain and abandonment and the father is now willing to contribute is an error. It's an error. It's an error because, listen, someday that same child is going to go looking for that father or mother. It's an error. And you are not giving a kind of example. Some women, because more often than not, they are the one that operate as single parents, even go to the extent of poisoning, of spoiling the minds of their children about their fathers. It's wrong. You don't do that. Two wrongs don't make a right. Remember, as a single parent, one of the things you really do need is the favor, the blessing, the hand of God. And you cannot get the blessings of God doing the wrong things. It doesn't work that way. You've got to understand that custodial rights are, I love the way Apostle Ezina again put it. She said that it was God ordained that that man or that woman become a parent to that child. And there must be something about that child beyond providing the seed or the egg that produce a child that person has to contribute to the life. If the person is willing, please, you will be making a mistake to deny the person. If the person was abusive, was negative, was criminal, and all of those things, now you can do supervised custodial meetings or visitation opportunities. It's so important because as the child sees how you deal with his or her father, they are going to take note that you are a mean person. And guess what? Don't be shocked. In the fullness of time, they're going to express that to you. They're going to shock you by even disappointing you by being somewhere else to go and do exactly what you never imagined. Now, I see a few people wanting to come on the live video. Unfortunately, I'm unable to accept more people today because of time, but I appreciate you wanting to come on. So what I would say is, if you have a thought or a question, you can put it up there just like other people are doing, and people will be glad, to read your position or your thought about what I'm presenting. Now, remember, I said I'm going to be taking on questions and comments after this because I am trying to wrap up without leaving out some basic information, that I needed to give to us. Another challenge of single parentage is clash of culture, where by reason of the different backgrounds, opinions, religion, and commitments of the parents of the child, and now that the child has to stay with one parent, and the child, sometimes some people do exchange. You go stay with mama, for this number of period, or you come during school, or you go on vacation there, and the person comes to one home, for instance, this is a Christian family, and maybe the other one is a Muslim family, and so the child is torn between both situations. So the question comes, how do you deal with clash of culture? There are some that are minor, some are major clashes. Now, here's what I would say. Whosoever has the major custodial right has a bigger responsibility in this regard. And oftentimes, again, is the women. A bigger responsibility to be able to find a way to help the child to respond to the culture you believe and you know, or which by reason of you having a custodial right, you have been given the opportunity to impress or impose upon that child. You have to have a way of being able to help the child separate the difference. But if it is not a negative clash of culture, it's just that it's different ways. For instance, the way people greet and respect. There are certain culture where a child is expected to prostrate flat. And in your culture, you don't do that. Now, what I would say is that allow the child enjoy both cultures. Children have the ability to learn many things, learn multiple languages, learn multiple skills. So long as the culture that is clashing with yours is not contrary, it's not negative, please encourage the child to learn it. It will be an advantage at the end of the day. Don't allow your anger with your estranged spouse cause you to close the child to the opportunity of learning. That is one challenge. A number of single parents just say, no, you can't, no, you can't. And all of that no is not because what they're supposed to learn or glean from is negative. It's simply because they don't just want anything to do with the estranged spouse. That's wrong. So class of culture, that's how to deal with it. Then what about a refusal to pay child support? That's another challenge. I mean, what I would say in this regard is tread a balance between enforcing your rights and not being